65 kilograms, 143 pounds. This bout, Jordan Oliver, two-time NCAA champ at Oklahoma State, hooking up with Boris Novachkov from Bulgaria by way of California. Went to high school and college in the States. Second at the NCAAs for Cal Poly in 2011, third in 2012, but wrestling for Bulgaria, and actually had a great showing at the recent European Championships with the second place. These guys met a few times in college, and they meet here in the middle of Times Square.
And this is, something that you can see the transitions. Boris has a real good international style of stance, more straight-legged, more bent over. You see a lot of the Russians, the Cubans, a lot of the great countries, they can, get in a position like that. You typically don't see that kind of technique in college, but that's where, the transition is such a important key of the process of developing into, a college to an international style wrestler, is being able to function in all the different positions. And you can see both these wrestlers have made a pretty good transition so far. It's just now a matter of executing and taking it to the next level and start winning world medals.
Oliver won 2 of the 3 meetings that they had a few years back in the college ranks, the 2009-2010 season. A little over a minute into this bout, no score at this point.
This is just a warning.
Again, trying to induce the wrestlers into being more aggressive, take more shots for scoring.
And typically what they're doing, not just to go out and just kind of be active. They want you to actually establish yourself, set your opponent up, and then take an attempt and try to get, at an elevation, get your hips in there, trying to take them down or trying to create some type of action. And it really doesn't, happen unless you attempt to, and that's where you get the call again. Now, it's going to be a 30-second timer.
So the shot clock is on for Oliver. Has 30 seconds in which to score. If he doesn't, his opponent will get a point.
And a lot of times the referee will look at the center of the mat, who's actually working the center of the mat. Oliver is typically circling outside of the center, and that's where you get in trouble, is when you don't control the middle. And that's where it's been so good for Boris to be able to control that center, and that's why he's getting the 30 seconds.
Novachkov in denial mode here, and it looks like he'll do enough to pick up that point. So 1-0 lead for Novachkov in wrestling for Bulgaria. Trains a lot in Illinois, but spends 4 months of the year training in Bulgaria and with that country's team, and has been in fine form. He beat the London Olympic champion gold medalist Asgarov of Azerbaijan on his way to that second place finish at the Euros, but he just gave up the tying point. Oliver were able to push him out and square the score at 1 apiece.
And that's where it's just staying in good position. And you can see both wrestlers, nobody really stays unchecked. One athlete changes its level, drops its level. Both athletes kind of change that level together. You don't want to be caught or surprised, and that's where both of them are always kind of hand checking, head checking, always trying to create an opponent opportunity to have him, not be able to react within that 2 seconds, and that's where you get taken down.
Great view of the fans packed in here to Times Square. Looking on at this bout at 65 kilograms, 1-1 the score after 1 period. Here's a look at the point for Jordan Oliver.
Set up, and it was a try to be a double leg position, but that's where Boris gave the angle, and ultimately that's where Jordan switched off into the left leg single leg and actually came around that corner and just drove it out of bounds for 1 point. And that's where the rules have changed in the last 5 years, to where a push out in the old days would be a warning, but now it's a point. Every time that you go out through the red into the blue, that's 1 point.
Second 3-minute period underway. Oliver, 3-time Pennsylvania state champion, about an hour and a half away, Easton, Pennsylvania. And again, starred at Oklahoma State for John Smith and that power program, trying to power through right now and get points on Novachkov, and does. Able to take him out for the 2 and grab the lead.
Great takedown, just being persistent. And that's where Boris had the body lock, and you know that pressure that Jordan was really pushing in, really being aggressive with. That's almost one of those things. You look down the barrel of a gun, and what point do you flinch? And Jordan was patient, kept the pressure, and finally that's where Boris just decided, you know what, I'm going to get taken down. I might as well just give up and give up the 2 points instead of getting put on my back and give up much more than the 2.
And we're told Oliver's been sick in the last 24 hours, so trying to recover and come through with a win, which would be an early birthday present. He turns 24 tomorrow.
Morning passivity against Oliver.
You see on Jordan's, his right eye, he's got a little bit of a black eye, and so that's the physicality of wrestling, being able to stay in position, head, body attack, and now
able to take him out of bounds. Just the 1 point, out of bounds before he was able to pull off that throw.
That's a good call, because you'll look at, the referee was perfect position, stepped out, and that ultimately would blow the whistle. The defender, Boris, stopped wrestling, and that's when the body, throw began. And it's just one of those things that you have to give the wrestlers, and be able to protect them in the match. And I think that was a good call by the referee.
Again, those scoring throws now in freestyle worth 4 points. So if it had been inbounds, might have been worth the 4. Instead, taking his man out of bounds, worth 1 more, and a 3-point cushion right now for Jordan Oliver.
And that's where Jordan just is continuing to put pressure, and that's where Boris is just starting to make a few mistakes, and that's where momentum is so important. That you put that forward pressure, that momentum, and just break your opponent.
Now under 1 minute remaining.
And Novachkov, high school and college in California, won 3 U.S. junior national titles, said this is a thrill for him too to have the opportunity to wrestle here in Times Square. Part of the reason he took the bout, wanted the chance to do it here in New York City, but needs a furious comeback if he's going to beat Jordan Oliver.
And that's where kind of you have the clash of styles, because Boris isn't really committing. He's not really getting physical on Jordan's head, and that's probably what he needs to do to give himself a chance, but he's just waiting for that outside single or an outside angle to try to get an attempt. And you got to change and go from a finesse type of wrestler to a physical wrestler at the end of matches if you want to have a chance to win. And right now, he's just not changing that intensity to give himself a shot.
And Oliver doing what he's needed to hold on to this lead, entering the final few seconds. And Jordan Oliver giving himself an early birthday present, a 4-1 victory over Boris Novachkov of Bulgaria.
Great wrestling, smart wrestling from Jordan. Just a great match.
Well, the Oklahoma State Cowboy able to get some things done and celebrate a victory here in New York City. Here's a look at some of his work in the match.
And this is where Jordan was trying to drive it, and that's where Boris was looking at if he can get his torso and actually pop his hips in. There may have been a 4-point throw there defensively, but it ended up being a 2-point takedown for Jordan.